The voting is done at the United Nations, and the anxious wait has begun for Canadian officials trying to secure a temporary seat on the Security Council. This was the scene earlier as Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister cast this country's vote. François-Philippe Champagne was one of many Canadian officials working their international contacts, trying to get the backing of at least two-thirds of the nearly 200 member nations. Canada is eligible for either one of two seats. 5 spots are up for grabs overall, but this country is in a tough competition as Ireland and Norway want the same seats too. The CBC's Stephen D'Souza is watching all of this for us in New York. So Steve, what's going on there now?
Well, definitely some anxious delegations as they await the results. The voting took place this morning, wrapped up a couple of hours ago, or rather an hour or so ago, and so they're now counting the ballots. There's actually 3 elections taking place for the Economic and Social Council, as well as the Security Council and the President of the General Assembly. And because of the coronavirus, they've had to limit how many delegates could vote at a time, and so the process is taking a little longer than it has in the past. So we're expecting the results to come sometime between 3 and 5 o'clock today. And as you mentioned, Canada is up for 2 of the 5 eligible seats, a 2-year term on the Security Council that begins next year. And it's in tough competition against Norway and Ireland. The consensus amongst observers is that Norway seems to be ahead in the race, and they are guaranteed at least one of those 2 seats. And so the battle comes down to Canada and Ireland. And, you know, we've seen a years-long campaign where there's been everything from concerts with Bono and Celine Dion to tickets to Broadway shows and, of course, state visits. And even the Prime Minister himself has been on the phone in the last few months with upwards of 40 world leaders, all making the case as to why Canada should be on the Security Council.
And Steve, what's at stake for the government and for Canada in this?
Well, it's really, you know, a foreign policy goal that the Prime Minister set out, and one that they want to get back to, because it's been 20 years since Canada was on the Security Council, 10 years since Canada lost its last bid to Germany and Portugal, and this really is about establishing Canada back on the world stage. And what the Prime Minister and others have said is that it's not just a goal to get the Security Council seat and the influence and access that comes with it, because even though on the Security Council, the power still remains with the 5 permanent members, there still is a lot of power and influence that comes with being on the Security Council. And Canada's pitch has been about economic security, that the Security Council too much focuses on conflict and not enough about the roots of those conflict. And especially with the pandemic around the world that's really pressed on social inequality, Canada's been making the point that if you deal with some of those inequalities, that you can deal with some of the conflicts that result from those. And so that's been the pitch Canada's made. Marc-André Blanchard, the Canadian ambassador to the UN, he's extremely popular. So we're really leaning on him to do a good campaign. And so they're watching the results, or waiting for the results, as we all are now. And the mood I hear from the Canadian camp is confident as they await the results.
All right, Steve, thank you. The CBC's Stephen D'Souza, live in New York. The 4